Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. My name is Joanna Daniel. If this is your first time seeing me live, I work with adult survivors of childhood trauma and abuse. I help people heal so that they can show up better in their relationships. So, welcome. We've been doing since the 10th of December 12 days of Christmas. So I've been doing a series leading up to Christmas where I'm giving you tools and tips to manage through this Christmas season. I've helped you to set boundaries if you don't want to go to family members, boundaries around personal safety, boundaries with your narcissistic mom, boundaries with your family members. And there's enough tools. So if you haven't watched them yet, go back on Instagram. You can go back in my IGTV. If you're on Facebook and on YouTube, you can go back and watch them. And they're really informative and will help you to make the decision that is going to be right for you. Whatever you decide to do, stay safe, and protect yourself. And one of the things I like to say, when we have awareness and things that are harmful to us, and we can hopefully be equipped with enough education to make decisions that are going to keep us safe. It really is important. So today I'm talking about how you're going to manage triggers. What are those triggers and how you're going to manage them? So whatever you do, you might experience triggers. If you decide to go to your family members or not, if you decide to stay alone, there are many things that might be triggering for you. And what I mean by triggers is there are many things that might cause you to feel a certain kind of way. And when we are in those places, we have three responses: of we go into fight, flight, or freeze response. It's really important to understand the things that sends us in those places and to know what are the things that we can do in order to not necessarily prevent going there, because there's sometimes we can't. It just kind of happens and you find yourself in the middle of it. But if you find yourself in the middle of it, how do you get out? And if you find yourself at the beginning, what do you do to not go into your usual automatic response? And so I want to talk about that today, just share some things to do beforehand and some things that you can do even while you're there. So some of the things that you can do beforehand is know your limits. Know your limits. What are those things what's your limit? If, for example, staying up at a certain time is a limit, you know that you can't stay up beyond 10, you're just not good enough, you're not good, you're not functioning, you don't cope well, you become irritable. What is your limit? What's your limit in how long you can stay with a certain group of people? What's your limit with how long you can stay with your family? What's your limit with how long you can stay on your own before it starts becoming a problem? What's your limit with the things that you can do and cannot do? So be familiar, be really comfortable. And that's one of the things I say throughout this 12 days. And today's either day 6 or 7, that it's really important to know yourself and be comfortable with what you discover. And when we know ourselves and we're comfortable with what we discover, it really helps us to be able to make decisions that are going to be beneficial for us. And it's not selfish, because it really does help you to, it really does give, it's a guide for the people that are around you, because they know what you will and won't do. But when you know what you will and won't do, when you know what your limits are and you operate within that, it really does help to keep you safe. So know what your limits are. And number 2, know what you want to be responsible for. And I said, know what you want to be responsible for, because sometimes in families, we're assigned a role. They assign us a role, and your role might be caretaker, your role might be fixer, your role might be the responsible one, the protector, the advocate, the mediator. Your role might vary depending on your family system. You might have they might give you different roles. So you have to know, even though they've ascribed this role to you and you may have played it all your life, now that you become aware of it, that's one of your limits. Now that you become aware that they've given me this role of the responsible one, and I don't want to play this role this year, I don't want to play this role anymore. So you can sit with that. And what does that mean for you in the role that you've been ascribed? What if you are the mediator? And so you go and there are things going off, there are things happening, but you don't want to mediate. You've come to the place where you realize that everybody's an adult, and everybody is able, they're adults, and adults are able to find the resources to make responsible decisions and to manage conflict and to communicate their views in a way that is safe and not damaging, or that's just safe. They can communicate their views, they can ask for what they need. And so, you knowing that, because even though you've been given the role of mediator, because you know your limit, and your limit says, look, this is one that you can't manage. This looks like something that needs outside support, people with no strings attached, people who can be neutral. My limit says I am not supposed to go in there and try to fix anything. And so, because you know that, and you're comfortable with your limit, you can step back from it and allow the adults to sort themselves out, and you not play the role that you were ascribed all your life. Now, if you're comfortable with this role, sometimes the roles that we've been given becomes a part of our identity, and it's very difficult to separate, well, who am I from this role that I've played my whole life? And that's the beauty of healing, because it really does help you to settle into who you are and who you want to be, and the kind of roles that you want to play moving forward. And just know that when you're changing, it might cause disruption around you, in the sense that people sometimes will push back. But if you're assured and you have support in doing it, then knowing your limits and know what you want to be responsible for is really helpful. So that's beforehand. That's before you go. That's before you are on your own. That's that these are things that you can do beforehand. So because you're planning ahead. Okay. So the next thing to be aware of is your mind and your body. Study your body. Be aware of your body, what goes on in it. When you're triggered, when you're in your fight, flight, or freeze response, what's going on? Where is it? Where can you locate the stress and the tension? Knowing where to locate the stress and the tension really will be helpful, because if, say, you carry it in your shoulders, and I've done this many times, if you carry it in your back or your head, then you can know what to do, the stretches to do, the exercise, the deep breathing, and the things that you can do to relax the muscles in your body so that you're kept safe. And when you're in a situation that's highly charged, when you do that, it really centers you, give you control of yourself, give you control of your thinking brain, and you're able to breathe and to apply your limit and go, okay, I'm out of my depth. They've given me a role I don't want to play anymore. This is my cue to make a decision, do whatever the cue is. That it's your cue to leave. It's your cue to give it back. It's your cue to sit quietly and calmly. It's your cue to go in another room. It's your cue to come off the Zoom call, whatever it is. Then the deep breathing, the stretching, just give you back your thinking brain, and gives you an opportunity to think clearly and to make a decision. Also knows what's going on in your mind. Be very familiar with those subtle, repetitive, negative thoughts that comes up. And when they come up, just knowing how to tell yourself what's true, knowing how to offer yourself empathy, knowing how to speak to yourself in a way that is kind and compassionate, really will help you to manage those thoughts when they come. So be aware of your negative cycle, your negative automatic thought cycle. So be aware of those, because those you can harness before you're in the middle. And even if you're in the middle or it's happened already, you can reflect on the situation and you can see where things went wrong. And then you can make a decision about how you want to do it the next time. So all is not lost if you find yourself in a situation and all or nothing thinking came up, or your irrational negative thoughts came up and played a part in how you respond and how you relate. When you are reflecting on the situation, when you're reflecting on your responses, and when you're reflecting on your actions later on, then you can make a decision. You can make a decision about how you want to, you can make a decision about next time. So don't beat yourself up. Don't beat yourself up. Don't be upset with self or allow yourself to be angry, internalize anger. Everything we can learn from. We can learn from our mistakes all the time. So just sit with it, see what it tells you, learn from your mistake. How do I want to do it differently? Be very aware of how those negative automatic thoughts trip you up in the past. Is there a pattern? Is there something that I need to look out for? And that's what will help you to, in the next time, do it differently. So that's what I wanted to talk about today, about how to manage you through the holiday season. So first, know what your limits are. What are my boundaries? What's my limit in this situation? Know what you're responsible for, and you make a decision around what you want to be responsible for. And your limit will guide you in that sense. And also be very comfortable with your mind and your body. Know what's going on in your body. When you're triggered, what happens? Where do you feel it? Where can you locate it in your body? And use deep breathing and stretching to soothe it and to relax the muscles in the body. Give you back access to your thinking brain so you can make a decision and apply your limit. See, we're always going back to knowing your limit. And also what's going on in your mind, those subtle repetitive negative thoughts, do they trip you up? When they do, and if they do, all is not lost. You can always go back and reflect. You can make a decision, and it will help you moving forward that this particular thing, perhaps you won't respond to it in the same way anymore. All right. So go back and watch. I'm going to try and put just a handout, a little graphic of the points that I've discussed in this video today, so you can have something to hand if you don't have time to go back and watch the video, to learn from it and to be able to apply these things to your life, because it really will help you to have healthier, more satisfying relationships. Okay. And we should all want that moving forward into 2021. Healthy, satisfying relationships. Otherwise, if they're not serving us, then there's no purpose. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you. Oh, thank you for joining, Susan. Thank you for being here. I will see you tomorrow around about 7:30 British Standard Time, when I will be doing day 8 of the 12 days of Christmas. I'm looking forward to you joining me. Have a great day. Take care.